What's up, RPG fans? Welcome to episode 26 of the Switchrpg podcast. I am one of your hosts, Philip, and I'm joined, as always, by the man from the northeast, Gio.
Northeast. Yes, how's it going?
I almost said northwest.
Northwest.
Been too long. It's been too long.
Wow. You're relocating me?
Yeah, he's from Seattle. And joining us specially tonight is the man, I would say, the man behind the scenes. You guys don't know him, probably, except that you do as Firestream. But he's the creator of the website, Switchrpg.com. And welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks. I'm glad to finally make it and be a part of it with you guys.
Yeah, it's nice to have you on.
Yeah, it's something that we've wanted to do for a while, and it's just so good to get him on. So you go by Firestream on Discord and on the website, but your real name is David, so that's what we're going to be calling you for the episode. So if this is your first time listening, ladies and gentlemen, then this is the show from Switchrpg.com that brings you all the exciting news, upcoming game releases, and all the latest in the world of RPGs on the Nintendo Switch platform. This week, we're talking a lot about Pokemon. What? Snuck up on us, and it's going to be a lot about Pokemon. And then we're also going to be answering your questions about RPGs to recommend to friends, like playing with your friends and stuff. And then finally, we're going to be doing some more RPG recommendations later on in the side quest. Let's get this show started. First, before we actually dive into the news, I do indeed have an iTunes review to read.
Nice.
First
nice,
one
nice.
in a long time. If iTunes will show it to me. Which it won't. That's fun. All right. I'll have to read it.
It was
later.
a good one.
It was a great one. It was a great one.
Wait, I can look up my phone, maybe.
I thought that iTunes would show me on the website, but apparently not.
Well, let's see.
Well, they mentioned my beautiful face, and I think that was about it. 5 stars.
5
awesome.
stars, beautiful face. Will the app show me? Now I'm like questioning everything. Have we had
I got it right
the
here.
whole time?
Well, no, this is April 3rd.
Oh, you know what? Okay, you know what? I bet it's because this listener is from Canada. No, I'm serious though. It's an international review, and I've got to figure out how to do the international reviews. So
Yeah.
DJ
It's just
Atkins,
US ones that show up on me.
DJ Atkins, thank you for the review whenever you listen to this, because I know you're listening to them in order and you haven't caught up yet. But when you listen to this, we appreciate your review, and I'll have to figure out how to read international ones. But we do have one here.
We probably have like a buttload of them, and you're just missing out.
Well, we actually do have one from August 23rd. The website that I've been going to check these hasn't updated. We got 5 stars. A great Switch podcast. This is from Blue156. Thanks, man.
Nice.
These guys are awesome. Really enjoy the topics and the conversations that they have. Keep up the good work. So sorry for not reading that on the show earlier. Now I know that my source is faulty. So there we go.
Yep.
And also I'll have to figure out how to do the international reviews. I know a lot of podcasts have struggled with that. So let's dive into the news.
Sure.
We got a good bit of news. It's been 2 weeks since we recorded, thanks to a hurricane and a sickness. But we do have a lot to cover. So let's dive into it. First off, I believe we may have talked about this a few weeks back, but I do want to get you guys' opinions on it again. But there's a possibility that Nintendo may be releasing the Switch 2.0 in 2019. Okay. I know this is really early to be talking about this, but I mean, a Switch 2.0. What are we looking for? Possibly, what would we like in a Switch 2.0?
First and foremost, a 1080 screen, more screen on the actual handheld piece, Bluetooth audio maybe, so we can actually use a headset.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And so chat is much easier. So chat makes sense. I mean, I'm not asking for a lot. I don't think, anyways. More power, faster is going to eat up a lot of battery. So, I mean, I'm okay with what they have. But I was under the impression that it was just kind of a hardware revision because the current board right now is easily hackable. So this is mostly to just kind of keep ahead of the hacking scene.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if we're looking ahead, yeah, definitely better screen. I don't think Nintendo Switch needs to be 4K at this point. 4K screens aren't in everybody's house right now, so I'm not asking for the world, but that's my thoughts.
Yeah. How about a better kickstand on the back, though?
What do you mean?
You mean that little plastic doesn't do the job?
No, yeah. And battery life. That would be the two things I want, just a little bit. Because, my kids borrow it from me now, and I get it back dead always. So they're gone an hour and a half, and they bring it back, and it's on 10%. So I think I get maybe 2 or 3 hours for real, but I could do a lot better.
I mean, what do we have to go across here? So to compare, so we have maybe the Vita, maybe the 3DS. What are their typical battery lives? I would say 3DS, depending on the game, maybe 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
And a Vita, I mean,
brightness too. If you lower the brightness a lot,
okay,
you can get a lot more battery, which I do on the Switch too. But I only get like 30 minutes, maybe an hour more if I go all the way low.
That's actually still pretty good.
Yeah.
But what about a Vita? I know not many people own those. So what do those things get?
Which thing?
The Vitas.
Oh, I have 2 of them. Yeah, So I think my Vita Slim gets really good battery life compared to the first one. It could be that the first one has a wore out battery too, but
sure.
I think I'm getting at least 5 or 6 hours of playtime per charge. At least.
That's pretty good. And if the Switch could get about 4 hours, I think that's more than reasonable. I don't know if that'll happen, but I mean, Phil, what do you want in the 2.0?
Okay, well, so 2.0 for me is just about revision, and the article that we have here from Den of Geek specifically mentions the OLED panels used by Apple's iPhone X series. That would be fantastic, obviously. Sure. It says a thinner screen that would help with battery life. So that's exactly what you were saying, David. So I mean, I think performance is the big thing. I want something that is just slightly more powerful, so that when I play like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, it doesn't noticeably chug for a game that is specifically for this machine, but it doesn't feel optimized for this machine. So that's what I'd be looking for. But I mean, I think that this is obviously not news. Like, every console has a revision a couple years in. Every single console. The PlayStations, they'll get slimmer. The Xboxes, they'll get less of a brick. All the little handhelds, like the 3DS, kept getting this little revision. So I mean, this is like a known quantity. So.
And Nintendo and all these companies figure out how to make them cheaper to manufacture. Yeah. That kind of the second go round. Like the Vita Slim, you can tell it was cheaper for Sony to make than the first one, but they sell it for the same price, so they're going to increase their margin by doing that. And I have a feeling Nintendo's probably figuring out a better process for the Switch hardware. It's improved, but it's also cheaper to manufacture, maybe.
Sure.
Possibly.
Yeah. Now, let's stay on the topic of new Switch hardware, but not necessarily 2.0. It's going to be your normal Switch that you've got now, but it's going to be themed for Diablo. Variety.com put up an article the other day that details the Diablo 3 themed Nintendo Switch bundle that goes on sale actually on November the 2nd. So that is right around the corner. Now, either of you guys really excited about Diablo 3?
I am.
You are?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we played the 360 version, which I was skeptical of for the controls, because I'd always played Diablo on PC with keyboard and mouse. And then he said that Diablo 3 on the console would be really good with controls, and we got it. And it was actually so well done that my wife was willing to play it with me. So we played it quite a bit, and then to know that we could play on the Switch with the little Joy-Cons and have 4 of us on there at once, that's got me pretty excited because I think my older sons will really enjoy that, and it's something that we could all do potentially, even 4 of us at once on the Switch. So yeah, I'm really excited for that.
Nice. I mean, I played it only on PC. I mean, it's an older game. I've already played it. It just really doesn't do anything for me. The console looks cool. It's really just the dock and
yeah, sell that dock. That'd be good.
Yeah, just sell the dock. It just doesn't. I don't know that this is gonna push sales. In my opinion, I don't know that it's gonna have that effect.
Just wait till 2 weeks after release, then you can buy those docks on eBay for $999.
You're probably right. Well, you got to think about Christmas season too. They're hoping to sell a bunch of bundles, at Christmas, and so we're kind of early adopters still in the world of Switch, if you think about it.
Sure.
But a lot of people, a lot of younger people too, have never played Diablo 3, might be interested in that bundle, especially with Christmas coming up.
Yeah, I mean they're bundling everything. So they have Pokemon Let's Go bundle, they have a Fortnite bundle, they got the Diablo bundle. It's like they have a bundle for everything.
Because the Black Friday, the end of November is right around the corner. So yeah, you're one.
But don't you wish they had done different colors on the Joy-Cons besides just
like a darker, like a black?
Black, yeah. I mean,
it's Diablo,
got some
right?
decals on it, essentially, is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Seems like they could have done a little more elaborate with, like, the Splatoon bundles. I think they had more color to them. I don't know. It's a missed opportunity.
And also the Pokemon bundle also had like the yellow and whatever Eevee's color is,
the
goldish
tan.
or whatever, the tan. And these are just the plain Jane gray, right? I mean, I think it would have been smart to have something, visibly signature for this bundle and for each bundle. I mean, make the collectors go out there and get them,
Yeah, so I completely agree.
Speaking of Diablo, you're not do it. Speaking of Diablo 3, Blizzard apparently wants to add crossplay to this game. So I'm reading from My Nintendo News. I'll just read a little bit here. A Blizzard Entertainment representative has told Business Insider that they are looking to eventually include cross-platform play, rather, to the forthcoming Diablo 3 on the Nintendo Switch, so owners of the other platforms can hook up with their friends and play together. It won't be ready at launch, but it's something to look for. It's something that the team is looking into, and the quote is, "It's not a question of when, or it is a question of when, not if. It's not an if thing. It's a when thing." So we've been hearing this about every game that's coming out on Switch now. Is you're at least going to be able to play with your Xbox friends. We know that much. So good stuff.
I mean, what's the player base though? I mean, what's the install base there? Are people still playing Diablo on the 360 or on the Xbox One or the PC? No, there's not many. So I mean, will that incentivize them to kind of pick up the controller again and start playing Diablo? I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I mean, it's a cool concept. It's interesting that these guys want to play nice. They want to be friends and everything. But I mean, for this title, being that it's an older title, I don't think that the install base is there, for crossplay. And maybe like I said, maybe it'll help them pick up the controller again. But I just don't know. I don't know about it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, like, they're probably hoping and banking on the fact that, like you said, Gio, this is an older game. Maybe this will give them a reason for people to go out and buy it. Like, oh, well, I could play with so and so, blah blah blah.
And like you've mentioned in other things, maybe they have something else going on. So maybe this is kind of a proof of concept. Maybe this is kind of getting the framework ready for their next game or whatever whatever's next on the list. Maybe this is just kind of, all right, let's see how everything goes here. Let's see if everything works like it should. Maybe that's what they're doing.
Speaking of getting games ready, transitions are on fire tonight. Speaking of getting
I know.
games ready, you know who else is getting games ready? That would be Level 5.
Level 5, yep.
All right, from GoNintendo.com, we've got, I think, a very, very interesting article here. But so if you didn't know, Level 5 showed off their Yokai Watch 4 and their 11 Airs game or something at TGS recently. And then shortly after the conference, it came out that both of those games were going to be delayed. So what's up with that? And then this article details that apparently Level 5 didn't really want to show the games at TGS anyway. So what do we make of this? Like, is this sort of like a peek behind the scenes of the life of a developer sometimes, where, you know, the people with the money come knocking on the door like, you got to show something. So I just thought this was really interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. You know, that they were kind of forced to show something. I mean, I'm in the ballpark where, you know, if you're not ready to show anything, don't do it. But I mean, the TGS is where you want to do it. It's where you want to showcase it. So I mean, it's tough. It's tough to. I don't know. It's like I said, it's you're gonna have a lot of eyeballs there, so it's kind of where you want to show it, but they just didn't want to. They're not ready.
Yeah, which is kind of disappointing because I mean, I know those are games people really want to play, and so now they're further off than we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I honestly don't know a whole lot about either of the series. I've never actually played any of the Yokai Watch games or the other one either, so. Yeah, I really can't even make an opinion on this.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, just people have invested in money-wise into this, and they're like, you got to show something here. Give us something. And, you know, what they showed wasn't bad. It looked okay in the short clip for the Yokai Watch. But, yeah, they're just not ready.
I just think I think that's disappointing sometimes. I mean, like, these devs are obviously working hard on these games, and they knew that it wasn't ready to show, but they had to anyway. I kind of feel for them, you know.
I mean, I didn't hear about them getting any negative press for what they showed. You know what I mean? So
I don't think it's that. I mean, I think that they prepped whatever it was really well, but you know how it is. Like, I mean, they didn't want to show it yet.
Yeah,
as a creator, like, letting people see something that's unfinished is like the scariest thing in the world, you know? And so they're obviously kind of pressured into showing that stuff. Right. It's unfortunate. Speaking of games that we may not get for a while, and by for a while I mean forever. This is kind of disappointing, and this goes back if you guys have been listening up to this point. You know, Gio and I, one game that we talk about being remastered for the Switch several times, several different episodes, has been Xenoblade Chronicles X. Now, David, have you ever played X?
No, I've only played the very first Xenoblade Chronicles game.
Okay, so you haven't jumped into 2?
Awesome though.
Okay. Yeah, X looks pretty great. I haven't played X. That's the one I haven't played. But that's one that both Gio and I thought that would fit really well on the Switch. But apparently, Monolith Soft doesn't agree because of, I guess, just how hard it would be to remake for the Switch. And this is coming from Nintendo Soup, where they detail a conversation that happened recently with Takahashi. And I think it comes down to the amount of effort it would take to make it happen, and obviously the money that it would take to make it happen. And that's just disappointing to hear, because like sometimes it's better not to hear anything and just like dream about it forever.
Yeah, sure.
And then they come out and be like, it's never gonna happen.
Now, was it on the Wii U? Is that the one it was on?
It was on the Wii U. Yeah.
I think I saw some video of it. Do you think it's partially hard to bring it over to Switch? Did they use the Wii U gamepad a lot?
They did. Yeah, they did actually. I mean, I think more of what the bigger issues, it could have been developed on a whole different engine that they'd have to recreate and put on the Switch. It could be something that we're just not thinking about. But I think it comes down to money. This one wasn't really their most popular game, although a lot of people do. I think the people who like it really like it. It just wasn't that popular because it was on a system, like you've said, Phil, that no one had.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate me. I mean, I have it. I didn't complete it, but I played quite a bit of it. It's very different from Xenoblade Chronicles and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's a very different game. It doesn't really have the same feel. Xenoblade Chronicles X is more like an exploratory game and not like, an action RPG like we're used to with the original and 2. So I think this comes down to, is this even really worth it? Like you said, is it worth the money to really put in, getting the engines right, getting all this behind the scenes stuff? Is it worth it? And I don't think that they think that.
Yeah, they got to prioritize. Where's the money at for them? Probably.
Yeah, and if they could port over the first one, I mean, I would like that one better.
It could run on the 3DS. It surely could run on the Switch.
Right, exactly.
The new 3DS.
Right. So, and they're working on their other projects as well.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not to say that they couldn't work on a port, but I guess we can't be choosers here.
Well, there's a reason to go buy a Wii U still.
Hey,
yeah. There's one reason.
I still have my Wii U.
I kind of wish I still had mine, but I sold it for Switch money. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think you made a good decision. That was a good investment.
No, it wasn't. There's good games on the Wii U.
I'm not saying that there's not.
And they're all coming to the Switch. They're all on the Switch.
Yeah,
all the good ones are on the Switch.
Just wait 6 months.
Slowly. Yeah, slowly but surely.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's settle into some Pokemon news real quick. I teased it at the beginning. We do have some stuff here coming from Pokemon. So all of you Pokemon fans out there, the Pokemans, then listen up. So first up, we've got some details from an interview about the Pokemon Let's Go difficulty and some maybe series, something about the future of the series. Gio, what really about the difficulty did we learn, if anything, really? Is it
in Pokemon Go?
Let's Go.
Or
Let's Go.
Let's
Go Pikachu, yeah.
I'm trying to find the article that you're referring to.
I'm sorry, it's the Eurogame, the Eurogamer article.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, was it that the game's going to be easy? Because I know a lot of people were saying that that's actually what they are kind of looking forward to.
I think it's going to be too easy, and what this is saying is that it's more difficult. I'm guessing and wondering if that's more like the motion controls. They're really implementing these things, and for me, motion controls it's just not for me.
Yeah, because I mean they've done away, and look, I'm Pokemon. I knew nothing about it, but they did away with like the battling, right? And so now it's just all like capture, right? It's just like they're the
and if it's anything like a Pokemon Go, it's really just touch and button. I mean, it's really simple. There's really nothing too much to it. So I mean, to increase difficulty, I'm wondering if more of that's with the motion controls and over anything else, because I don't see this game being difficult at all, to be honest. I'm just trying to find here in this article where they mention that.
Yeah, I mean, because I read through it, and I couldn't figure out what the difficulty they were talking about. But something else that they covered that I thought was interesting when it comes to the future of the series and the possibility of open world. Apparently, that's potentially still on the table for a future installment. No, for a future installment. That's what I said. The future of the series.
I would wonder how they would even do that.
Do you think the next game will be that way? The full Pokemon game next year? Do you think that will be open world?
Oh, I mean, do I think it will be, or do I think that would be a smart idea? I think that would be a smart idea. I don't know. I don't know how. It depends on how long they've been making this game. I mean, is this like a game that's only a couple years old, or is this something that they've been like putting time into? And I just don't know.
Can you imagine all the angry Pokemon fans if they made it open world? All the random encounters in an open world, that would be a nightmare. That would be an absolute nightmare. Having an open world, you don't see anything. you know, and just
Yeah,
having
that
a
would
random
be
encounter. So they would have to definitely change something. Is it Dragon Quest that has, they're not random encounters, but you kind of see the enemies and then
Yeah.
they kind of go to you and you have like your battle within a certain circle. Is that how that one works?
Well, it depends on the Dragon Quest, but you can see the enemies in the field, and then they can actually chase you and run into you, or you can run into them. But then you actually transition to a battle screen at that point.
Okay, so
I'm
maybe
not
it could
sure
be
about
something
the
like
latest Dragon Quest. It may have actually been on the same field, though.
that. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's where Drew is getting like an arena almost like kind of forms around you, and you just can't leave that circle. But I think either of those would work. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily have to have like a hugely populated field as long as you just had like these different Pokemon like jumping around, and if you got near them, then it's like, you know, like the glass break, you know. And
I can see it just like Dragon Quest. I mean, where like you said, you can see way far out, but when the mobs get closer to you as wherever you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love your sound effects, Phil. That was excellent.
Yeah, it's great. And you gotta go watch the video so you can see my actual the glass breaking. Okay. And then lastly, speaking of the next Pokemon game, we did have confirmation that the Pokemon that you capture in Let's Go, as in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, will be transferable to Pokemon 2019.
How is that going to work? What are these guys?
You'll probably have to subscribe to some sort of like Pokebank or something. Yeah, I don't know, but
you'll definitely have to be in Pokebank. That will probably be the first thing once the next iteration of Pokemon comes out. Pokebank is right there. It's right there for sure.
Yeah, but so this means that, okay, so you can capture things in Pokemon Go and transfer that to Pokemon Let's Go, and so now I'm assuming you can take those and go straight into Pokemon 2019. So
that's interesting, actually.
But that's kind of neat if you think about the incentive to play Let's Go this year.
Mm-hmm.
It might encourage people who they know they're going to play next year's Pokemon. It's going to be the big one, and they may be on the fence about this year with the Let's Go. But that may sell copies of this game. I think it's going to sell anyway, but maybe it sells even more because it goes on.
That's a fantastic point, because if they had because we've known that the big new Pokemon's on the horizon, and this one's sort of almost like a side game, and that is such a good way to sell copies. Because if you said that your progress isn't going to count, like, you won't be playing this game again next year. Yeah, that's smart. That's smart. That's real smart.
I mean, all the other iterations of Pokemon, you're able to do that. So I mean, they're kind of continuing that trend.
Right.
I mean, you'd have to do it with the Pokebank, but I mean, you were kind of already able to do it. So you're trying to catch them all. So I mean, this you gotta help these people out trying to catch them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, that wraps up the news for this week. Let's go into what games we've been playing this week. And David, we'll start with you, since you've never been on the show. What are you playing? What do you like to play right now?
I'll tell you what, I'm playing a bunch of stuff, which is kind of one of my problems. I like to start games
and never finish.
I get excited about the game for like 10 hours. I love it. And then I'm like, all right, what's the next game I can start for some reason? So, like an idiot, I actually started Octopath Traveler last week, which it's actually blowing away my expectations. I read a lot of stuff. I read our review of it, but I kind of held off because I kept thinking I need to have some more free time to play it. So I started it. I've done 4 of the chapter 1s, 4 different characters, and then the bosses, and it's great. But then what happened was my birthday was last month. And GameStop sent me, thanks. GameStop sent me a 20% off coupon, and they're real clever because they're like, this expires in a week or 2. So I went out and I found the Ease 8.
Yep.
Lacrimosa
I'm
Dana.
saying it right. And with the GameStop Pro member price, it's like $43, and then with the 20% off, I think I got it for $34.
Good deal.
That's fantastic.
and that's and it's actually just as good as I thought it would be. And I'm actually playing it more than I'm playing Octopath right now. There's something about the action RPG. I think as I've gotten older, I think my patience for turn-based RPGs is starting to diminish, and I want this like instant action. Kill 50 enemies and move on to a boss, and not have to worry about all these rounds and all these turn-based things. And Octopath is like really turn-based. You know what I mean?
It's very, very turn-based.
Like these chapter 1 bosses are like taking me 45 minutes to beat, just because they have so much HP. And I go back and think about like Final Fantasy 6 or even 7, where in the early game the bosses are just like a cinch, and Octopath does not seem to be that way. It seems like they're throwing it at you just right at the beginning, and I can imagine it just gets harder and harder. But they're both great games, so I've enjoyed playing them both this week.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you got, Phil? What do you got?
One of my buddies on the call here, Gio, sent me this sweet little game called Divinity Original Sin 2.
Oh my gosh!
Never heard of it.
I cracked that open for the first time, and I've been playing a little bit of that. And you know what? It also gave me the itch for this other small indie game. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but it's called Dragon Age Origins. And so I've also just kind of been playing both of those simultaneously. And it is kind of cool to see like older game and then this new guy, this little new kid on the block that has a really cool take on this like isometric genre. It's just fantastic.
So did you convince them to bring Divinity Original Sin 2 to the Switch or to? Well, it's already on Xbox, I guess.
Yeah, it's on Xbox. It's on PlayStation and PC. I have been campaigning for for this to be on the Switch. I mean, I don't know how the Switch would handle it. I don't care. Just put it on the Switch. Please.
Is it really high graphics? Is it graphically intensive?
I will say on my PC it looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on a PC, that's a whole nother ball game. But I mean, now would you say the Switch could handle it?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
I would need to like see what are the like the low end PC settings. I think that's always a good indication. Like if you can scale it back and it still looks okay, then I mean it should be fine. I don't know. I mean, it definitely couldn't handle what it looks like on this. I don't know what it looks like on Xbox. I mean, that would be a closer comparison.
I mean, I'm on an Xbox One X. So my brother-in-law, he has a 4K setup, and it looks absolutely beautiful on his. So I mean,
okay. Going back to what I said earlier, it chugs with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So a game that was made for it. That would be my big concern. Is like the optimization. 2.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that maybe because it was early in the Switch's life cycle, maybe it just wasn't optimized well. I mean, I think it did get better because I have been replaying it a little bit, and I haven't noticed those chugging moments when you get into a town or bigger battles. I haven't noticed them as frequently. So maybe there was some optimization that they could handle in a patch, but I think building the game from the ground up, knowing what other developers know already and how to develop for the Switch, maybe you're not going to get that as much. These guys, I'm assuming they talk to each other. So,
and you always see that in the consoles too as it goes on, right? Like take the early 360 games and then take the later 360 games, and that's even weird. We're talking last gen, and just the things that the developers figure out over years of working on the platform. You can bet these guys are figuring the same out, and girls. What the Switch can do and where it really does have more power than maybe it comes off at first glance.
Right. Yeah.
I'd love to see what the next Zelda game on the Switch will look like. I mean, because Breath of the Wild is already gorgeous, and that was really made for the Wii U, I think. And just, I mean, is that true? Don't you think it was really made for that platform with the Switch kind of over on the side? Maybe I'm wrong on that, but
I mean, I have a feeling like it wasn't. Let's make this for the Switch, but then also make it backwards compatible. I have a feeling like you're right in that I think it was Wii U. Then Nintendo said, okay, well, we're going to put out a new console. Okay, well, we better make the new version too. Yeah. I think that game was so old, it was an actual Wii U game.
I mean,
And
it looks
runs
beautiful
great on the Wii U, but it runs better on Switch, and you can
Because
always see
I did
that.
play both versions. I borrowed my friend's Wii U to play his version of Breath of the Wild because I had to play it. And then I went out, after playing it, I went out and bought the Switch to play my own version of Breath of the Wild. So,
Nice.
yeah, I did get sort of both of those experiences.
I mean, it's not a realistic graphical game. I mean, it looks beautiful, and I think it's one of those. It'll look timeless as well. But I mean, in saying that, that's probably why it doesn't have a lot of issues performance-wise. So that's my
That's a
opinion.
good point.
Yeah,
All right, Gio, what you been playing?
Divinity Original Sin 2. I will probably play that. That'll carry me probably until Red Dead, I'm guessing, because that'll be my next thing. Wasteland 2. Been playing that on the YouTube for Switchrpg, as well as I'm gonna be starting Hand of Fate 2 again. They're putting out a new patch. The combat, it was a little wonky, so I'm kind of waiting for that patch to come out to really kind of get into that again. And then I kind of have something else I've been recording for the YouTube division that I'll be it's not Switch related, unfortunately. It's a side quest, so I'll be putting that up soon.
I thought you were saying that you were recording The Division. I was like, wow, this is really out in left field.
No. We, the YouTube division.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have
you
the
said
podcast division. You know, we're all separated into divisions. You guys are the nerd division with your writer, you know, with your pen and papers and stuff.
Oh, that's great. All right, I want to cover the sales, but before I do that, David, because I usually try to plug both the Switchrpg database and also the Switch List app. But why don't you plug those things while you're here, since you're the mastermind of both of those? So why don't you kind of tell us what they are and then how people can get a hold of them?
Okay. All right. Well, Switchrpg, the whole goal of it was to create a place where RPG fanatics could go and find out all the information that's out there on every RPG for the Nintendo Switch. So kind of a niche audience, but a lot of us kind of bleed over into other consoles too. So I feel like it's done a good job of providing Switch RPG news and content, but also bringing together a lot of RPG fanatics or people who grew up with the older consoles and played all the Pokemons and all the Final Fantasies and Dragon Quest and all that stuff. So it's got a really solid community of people behind it too, beyond just being kind of a database site. And then Switch List, which is an app. It's actually on Android and iOS. You can just Google, I'm sorry, not Google, just search for Switch List, or you can actually go to switchlist.app. It's serving a different purpose in that Nintendo has not done the best eShop ever. So
are you serious? You don't love the way the eShop is?
It's okay, but you know the hardest thing is figuring out what games are coming out and what's on sale, and so Switch List tries to make that easier for people. And to plug it even further, I actually rewrote it over the last couple months, and the new version is a lot better in my opinion, and it's done pretty well. It's got this week it actually broke 30,000 installs.
Holy cow!
Android
I feel like last week it was at like 10. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's doing good. And what's funny, a lot of people use it every day. Almost 1,500 people a day are coming on. It has like a chat. It has some community stuff, but everyone's really quiet on there. Really, it's kind of surprising. And then you go to Switchrpg, which is a much smaller group of people, but everyone's is like hanging out on Discord and like talking to us on Twitter and talking to you on the podcast and on YouTube. And so it's funny to see this smaller group of people, but they're really more kind of a close-knit community. And then you have this larger thing that's solving a problem, but people really just kind of come and use it and leave. Yeah. So it's really much more of a tool, whereas Switchrpg is much more of sort of an entity of people that have a common interest in RPGs and happen to own Nintendo Switches as well. So I think that's the best way to plug them both.
Yeah. Switchrpg is the clubhouse for sure.
Yeah,
the clubhouse. Yeah, and it's where I get to meet you awesome people. You know, like you two and Meatball Sub. That guy cracks me up, and ERPG, Evan. I love all the articles that everybody's turning out on the site.
Jeremy, yeah, and then we've got some great guest writers there too. So that's really kind of what SwitchRPG almost has turned into, including with the database. It's also turned into a content creation hub. So it's great.
And he has some changes on the horizon. Coming soon. I don't know exactly when, but I think we're going to make SwitchRPG. We're going to let it focus on what it does best, and we're going to let Switchlist do what it does best, and I think it'll be better in the long run. So I'm excited to work on that soon and get the community involved in those changes as well.
We're fired. Is essentially.
No.
Yeah.
You guys
we're voted off the island.
No. Yeah. There you go.
That's awesome. Oh well, we're excited about those changes. And it was a nice little tease there. Okay, so speaking of teases, 2 weeks ago I put out a tease and I was like, next week is going to be the greatest week of releases, and then we didn't record at all. So what I'm going to do is I want to cover the past 2 weeks of releases for everybody. This is once again Switch releases. So starting back on October the 11th, we had a just fantastic little game called Child of Light Ultimate Edition drop on October 11th. In addition to that, we also had Chasm drop on October 11th, which is also a really nice little title. Then on October the 12th, we had something that a lot of people were just gung-ho for, which is The World Ends With You Final Remix, an older Square game brought back to life for the Switch. And then this week, yesterday, in fact, we had Valkyria Chronicles Remastered drop on October 16th. I am saying yesterday. It was on the 16th for those of you who are listening on Friday. And then, so that is a good, solid 2 weeks of releases. It's already the issue of what do I buy? What do I, I can't get everything, so what do I get? And that's a difficult 2 weeks to decide between. I mean, I really want World Ends With You, and then I want Valkyria Chronicles Remastered. So, got to make some decisions coming up.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
David,
I have my hands full.
Any of those four that really spoke to you? I know you're kind of a fan of Child of Light, right? Or was that not you?
No, are you talking to me?
Yeah, David. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll say Child of Light was great.
Yeah.
I played it, most of it, if not all of it.
About 10 hours of it.
Yeah, it was.
And then moved on.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. I don't remember. I think I played it on.
It was on Vita. It was on Vita.
Yeah, that's where I think I got it. It's been a couple of years, I think, since I played it, but I enjoyed it. I probably wouldn't buy it again, though. I mean, it was great, but I don't need to play it again. Out of those, though, I honestly do think I would get Valkyria Chronicles. It's such an interesting take on the strategy with sort of the mixture of the war and, there's like tanks and all this strategy to where you put your guys, but then it also gets kind of into this like fantasy almost. I played it on the PS3 years ago, and again, it was one of those cases where I think I put maybe 7-8 hours into it and moved on, but I enjoyed it. I might be willing to play that one again on the Switch.
Yeah, of all of them, that would be the one, and for the exact same reasons. It just visually, it just looks cool, and it would probably be a good jumping off point to get into maybe 4 if I was ever to kind of move into that direction. So yeah.
And I believe we announced a few weeks ago now that there's some deal with a discount for remastered. I think if you'd gotten 4, you get a discount for remastered. So that was a really cool deal, and I guess that's still going on. Maybe until
I think so.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And remember, you guys can head over to switchrpg.com for all of your RPG wants or needs on the Nintendo Switch platform. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to hear from you. Remember, we're all about community here at the Switch RPG podcast. So if you want to be part of the show, remember you can email us your questions using our question form at switchrpg.com/podcast. Just like Paul Nichols did, our faithful questionnaire, Paul Nichols. He's asking, guys, what is our favorite non-MMO co-op RPG? A co-op experience. He said lots of RPGs are single player, but which ones do you recommend to play with your friends? Do any of you guys have any that jump out in your mind? Co-op.
That's a good
Co-op.
question.
But it can't be an MMO. So there you go.
Right. I got 2, but I can let Gio go first if you want.
Yeah, sure. This kind of, I mean, just off the top of my head, what I'm playing right now, Divinity Original Sin. You could play that couch co-op. You can play that because I play with it with my brother-in-law. It's just to use the phrase, it just works. It just works. It's really perfect. So I would have to say Divinity Original Sin. Let me see off the top of my head. Now, I was gonna say a game, but I believe Phil might be stealing that one. So,
go ahead and say it because I don't know. I don't know if I'm stealing it.
Oh, okay. Borderlands.
Yeah,
you
okay. Borderlands. Yeah, I know we all went the same place. Yeah, I specifically said Borderlands 2.
Yeah, Borderlands 2.
Yeah, I like them all. I'm a fan of either one of them. Borderlands 2 definitely adds a lot more. I think the story's better. I think the mechanics they improved on them. But either one is really good. You got up to 4 players, and it's just an awesome action RPG. The humor in it fits me. It really does. It works for me. The writing in it is hilarious. So. I'm sorry. You told me to take it. You told me to take it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, some people like Dark Souls as a co-op. It's not really co-op. Now that I'm thinking of it, I mean, there are some situations in Dark Souls where it can be co-op, but I don't know about that one. So, yeah, those are my 2.
David, did you have another one?
Yeah, well, Diablo 3 is a good one.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can play that one co-op, which, like I said, I played with that game with my wife. And I think my older boys are going to be interested in playing it this time too. So Diablo 3 and the fact that it's coming out in just a couple of weeks for the Switch that's pretty exciting in my opinion.
Yeah.
Borderlands was the other one I was thinking of. And I was trying to think, I know there was another one I used to play.
You were going to say Path of Exile.
I need to play those. I haven't played that one.
Path of Exile is it's just like Diablo 3. It's the same sentiment. It's kind of in the same vein. And I actually play with it with Tuile on Discord. I played with it for a little bit with him. I forget what came out. I think it's just the YouTube division started, creeping on me. I was playing too many games, and I'm like, Tuile, I'm really sorry. I don't have a lot of time. And I mean, I love playing that game as well, co-op. That one works.
God, I had one, and then you said Path of Exile, and Borderlands 2 was my big one. That was my big one.
So it really messed you up, Phil.
He really did. I was gonna say. I know a lot of people would suggest the Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, isn't it? Because that's coming out, and that's also going to be co-op. So that should be coming out sometime in the near future. So
that's a good one.
There is also some sort of NES co-op capabilities with Final Fantasy 15. If that is your thing, they have the whole Comrades DLC. So there is that one as well. Just to give you some options.
Nice.
And if you really want to take a deep dive, my first RPG ever was The Third Age, and that was actually 2-player.
2-player.
It was a 2-player, essentially, because I've talked about it before. Third Age was essentially like a Final Fantasy X clone that wasn't as good, set in the Lord of the Rings setting. But what was interesting about it was 2-player. So player 1 controlled the player character whenever you were running around in the world, and as soon as you went to battle, there were 3 party members in the battle, and player 1 controlled 2 of them, and player 2 got to control 1 of them. So you got your little decision.
That's a weird kind of mechanic.
Yeah. All right, Gio, you know what time it is.
It's late. It's Survivor time.
Yeah.
No, everybody pack your bags. It's side quest time. All right.
Sorry.
Okay, Gio, tell us what this week's side quest is all about.
All right, this week's side quest is we actually had a side quest last week, and it was basically top RPGs that everyone should play. And, you know, it was someone else's list that we kind of read from, and it was very isometric centric. A lot of the RPGs that were there were a lot of isometric games, and there were a few other good ones in there, but I felt like they were missing quite a bit, and it was a fairly recent list. So here we are. We're good enough as they are, so we're making our own list.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, this isn't necessarily like games for new players. I think that would be a whole separate list that we'll probably have to put together as well. So this is just like, if you like RPGs, you should check these games out. And it's a mix of newer and older stuff. So, Gio, why don't you hit us with your first game? Don't go through your whole list. Let's go with the first game.
Jeez, my first game. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Definitely, I think it's a must play for anyone who likes RPGs. The music, I mean, I'm not a big listener of soundtracks. Like, I'm not one to kind of have it in the background. It's just not me. But I do it for this one. I really enjoy the music for this.
One of the last times I logged into the game, I realized that I had been on the start menu for like 7 minutes.
Yeah,
so I was just like listening to music.
And like I said, I'm not one for that, but it is one that I'll, like, if I'm doing like video editing or just kind of surfing the web, I'll put that on in the background all the time. It's awesome. But otherwise, I mean, the story's cool, the action is cool, the mechanics, the fighting mechanics are I love them. They're not so complex where it just deters you from playing the game. I don't think. They're great. They're good.
And it's a really pretty game too.
Yeah, that too.
All right, speaking of pretty games, my first game on the list is also a recent one. If you have a PS4, I think it is a must-play. Horizon Zero Dawn. It is an action RPG that is sort of heavy on the open world exploration. It came out on the same day, I believe, as Breath of the Wild. You want to talk about it was either that or the same week. But you want to talk about a fantastic, what was that, early 2017 time for RPGs, specifically open world RPGs. I think Horizon Zero Dawn is just an absolute gem and just gorgeous. So if you got a PS4, go play that.
Yeah, cool.
That's definitely one I want to play someday. I don't have a PS4 though, so
yeah.
You're in the boat with Gio. Actually, nobody on this panel has PS4s currently.
Oh, that's right.
I don't have mine anymore.
You got rid of yours.
Yeah. David, you got one you want to throw in on the list real quick?
Oh man, I do. I'm trying not to say an obvious one, but I do kind of make it a point to, especially with people who are younger than me, to make them go back and play Chrono Trigger.
Okay.
I still think it's one of the best RPGs of all time for just so many reasons, and it's way more accessible now because you can get it for like the DS and then the PC version on Steam, which I don't actually own, but I know Square put a lot of time into it. They fixed a whole bunch of issues on it, and I think that's a sign that they're going to port that to the consoles soon as well. Okay. I don't think they would have invested so much money in the Steam release if they didn't have bigger plans for it. So I'm excited because I think that means a lot of people born 1990 and up will have a chance to play it on a modern console. Including my own kids who have not played it. But I have a coworker, and I actually asked him to play it, and so he kind of went out of his way and found. I'm not sure if he's playing the Super Nintendo version or DS, but he started playing it. And I came into work, and I expected him to be like, "It's the best game I ever played," and he was like, "Yeah, it's pretty good."
Oh no,
I think it's
all right.
It is such an old game, and you can see its age in some ways. But then if you take it and then look at all the things it's inspired, I think you'll appreciate it more.
Right.
So many games nowadays say, "Yeah, Chrono Trigger was a inspiration for our game."
Mm-hmm.
But that would be my number one. The other one I would pick, I'm not allowed to say because you said it was excluded from the list.
Geo excluded it from the list. Let's be clear.
Go ahead.
But Final Fantasy VI is still an all-time favorite. I wish Square would give it the treatment that they're giving 7. In that, Seven's had all these, like anniversaries and spin-off games and movies, and then now they're doing the big remake. And I'm sitting there thinking, why is 6, except for the awful mobile port that they decided to do, why is 6 just kind of being left, in the old days, when I think 6 is still their best 2D Final Fantasy they ever did.
Hey, look, as a 6 fan, I guess the positive we can take away is that we're not Final Fantasy 8. just talking about getting forgotten and left to the
wind.
And
8 doesn't even get the Switch
release. It gets leaked over. All right, Gio, go hit us with another one.
All right, so I did have Divinity Original Sin there. I think
that's a smart entry. It's a newer game.
I mean, I don't want to like oversell this game in what it, but it really is such a good game. But let's pretend I never mentioned it. Okay, I did not say you should play Divinity Original Sin. Okay, but you should. So let's say Dark Souls. I'm gonna say Dark Souls 3 because that's the order I went in. I actually went in at Dark Souls 3, and then I kind of played them backwards. So I played Dark Souls 1 and then 2. It's a very difficult game, but the story in it, the lore, the aesthetic of it is beautiful. It is an awesome game. Now, yes, it is complicated, but when you start to get it, when it finally clicks, the sense of accomplishment in that is overwhelming. It really is awesome once it really clicks with you. And I mean, I don't know if it's for everyone, because I think that learning curve and because it's kind of complicated. It's not that it's complicated, it's just kind of difficult. But I think that throws a lot of people off. And once you get past that, it really is an awesome game.
All right, I want to give you a couple of older Final Fantasy titles here. We tried to go light on Final Fantasy, and then it just kept being like, well, what about me? So if you think older Final Fantasy, I think Final Fantasy IV is an interesting one. I think that's one that you need to play from a story standpoint. The characters are iconic, but then also it's very accessible now. You can actually get 2 separate versions that are completely amazing in their own rights. There's a 3D version for that. I guess it was the DS, I think. But you can get that on. I think you can get that on Steam and mobile right now. And then there is also my personal favorite, a 2D remaster. I think it's called The Collection or something. I can't remember exactly, but the Final Fantasy IV Collection or something.
That's the PSP version, right?
Yeah, the PSP version. But that is now, you can get that on a bunch of different things as well. So I think Final Fantasy IV is a great one. But then also, it would be robbery not to say, if you're into tactical RPGs, it would be robbery not to tell you to go play the grandfather of them all, Final Fantasy Tactics.
Okay. I thought you were going somewhere else with that.
No.
Were you going to say Tactics Ogre?
No.
No. Okay.
No. I thought he was going to go Dragon Age on, but he didn't.
That's not a tactical RPG.
Whatever.
Unless you play it on Nightmare difficulty, then it has to be. But that's beside the point.
And Tactics is another one that Square really needs to bring over to the Switch. It could run on the Vita and the PSP just fine, and all the mobile devices. So, I don't see any reason why we don't have a Switch version of it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at least not yet. I mean, maybe that's in the plans. Maybe they're seeing what the reception is on all the other ones that they're putting out, and then hopefully there's more to come.
Maybe
all the other 10 ones they're going to do, and then
maybe next time we'll get 4, 5, 6 Tactics, and still not 8.
Poor 8. Did you like 8? I played 8, and
I didn't hate 8. I did not hate 8. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
The card game in 8 was probably the best part of that game to me.
I think eight's big problem was the style, the art style that they went with. Is like they wanted. It was like they went as like quote unquote realistic as possible at that time, and that just did not stand the test of time at all.
Yeah, it looks awful.
Yeah, and that's why they're not putting 8 on anything, because they just want you to forget about it.
If it gets larger than your phone screen, then it's just like, ooh, this is rough.
Yeah, pretty bad.
All right, Gio, hit us with the rest of your list, and then I'll give you the rest of mine.
Sure. Rest of my list. Now, I could list a bunch of Western RPGs, but I'm not. I'm gonna list Witcher 3 is a must play. Again, the story, the look, like everything about it. It's beautiful. So Witcher 3. I was gonna say Elder Scrolls, and that's a tough one because I'm gonna go with accessibility here. And you, Phil, and I had kind of talked about this with Skyrim. I think that's more accessible, and I think that's something that people. I think that, again, you kind of mentioned this as well, that it's just a good starting point. It's just a good entry into the series. And if you like this one, and then you can move on into Oblivion, you can move on into Morrowind, and all the others that are in there. Skyrim is, I think, the one to play out of all of them. And then also Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, 4. Not everyone likes 4. So that's kind of my Western RPGs. And then you got Pokemon. Just pick one of them. They're all the same. Just pick one Pokemon game. You played them all. But definitely play a Pokemon game.
All right, I'm gonna hit you with mine, and then we'll wrap up. I already gave you tactics. Persona 5. I think if you're going to play Persona 5. Once again, it's the most modern. If you like that, you can go back and play Persona 4. I'm putting Dragon Age Origins on here because I want to, and it's fantastic, and it's my favorite. And then also Madden 19, because Madden is an RPG. And that's our list, folks.
God.
Wow. Okay. Well, that is going to be all of our episode. That was a fun one, guys. That was a fun one.
I quit. This is my last one, by the way.
Madden's an RPG. That's the last thing.
Madden is not an RPG.
Listen, David, we really appreciate you joining us for this episode. It was great.
Yes, thank you.
It's great to talk to you.
Oh yeah, we really enjoyed it. And I'd like to come back again if you'll have me.
Of course, we're going to have you.
We'll see how it goes. Okay, we're not going to promise anything.
Sounds good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up episode 26 of the Switchrpg podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and for everyone who sent in their questions, keep them coming by sending us emails at switchrpg.com/podcast. Remember, you can listen to this show each and every Friday now on your favorite podcasting app or on our website. If you listen on an app, please go give us a rating, and I will try to figure out how to find them and read them on the show next time. And if you like what you hear, remember you can head over to patreon.com/switchrpg and donate a couple dollars if you can spare it. But if not, remember, you just being a part of our community, listening to us, watching us, interacting with us, that's what matters to us. And we thank you for all of that. And finally, you can head over to switchrpg.com for all your RPG needs, or you can download the Switch List app at Android and iTunes stores, app stores, whatever they're called. And then until next time, I will see you around. I'll be playing Divinity Original Sin and Dragon Age Origins.
Nice.
And Madden is not an RPG.
Goodbye.